our topic today is thrown into the fire, leading change without tools. And I have a desire, Jacqueline, to relate that to the current world circumstances, which we can't ignore. We simply can't ignore. And I would say that we are all being asked to lead without the tools. No matter how many tools we've got, it's it is a quite a feeling of helplessness, isn't it? Well, I find and I think that's an interesting way to explore this topic because I think it's all relative to where you are at and what's going on in your particular circumstances. But there is this overarching reality which we all live in.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point. Because yes, we all sort of thrown into this global situation, the war in the Middle East, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the war between Pakistan and India, which has been going on for a very long time. All of these wars have been on and
Mm,
off going on for a very long time. And also, we still remember a time where we didn't have social media. So we had the news and you would just hear about a war and it wasn't so in your living room. But now
mm,
with social media, and with people having these mobile phones where you can record everything and anything at any time and you can still send it to the world. We are observing this in our living rooms, how people are being killed, so to speak. And that is also that is new to us. And while we're sort of don't want to be disconnected in some way from the world, we have become a global village, but we
mm,
cannot we're not designed to constantly look at these disasters, and how are we going to deal with it without sort
yeah,
of being dismissive. Oh yeah, that's happening there, it doesn't connect with me, which is not true either. So finding your way through this is, and that's the new thing. So we are thrown into the fire. We are not really aware of how we can deal with this because it is all new to us.
that's right. That's right. And it's full on. And the other thing that you can it does reach into our homes via social media, but also even living here in the new world in Australia, for example, um, going back through ancestry.com. So Lucille's, my wife's mother, went and did ancestry. Turns out she's got cousins living in the Ukraine, which they were of. I won't go into the details, but you know, and we have colleagues that are in Iran. We know Israelis. You know, we have people on all sides, and Russians even. We have people on all sides of these conflicts.
That's
And
right, and it can easily cut through a family. I mean, I'm
yes,
born in Germany, but half of my family is Jewish, and mm, some of them, most of them live everywhere in the world, and wherever I look, if we have someone there from the Jewish part of my family, and it's unavoidable that people are sort of confronted with wars, and then they take sort of sides. But when I was raised, I mean, in Germany at that time, we had special history education about, what happened in the Second World War, and to kind of make sure that we are educated in such a way that it doesn't happen again. And what is happening, it's happening again.
mm,
And so, but I was also confronted with this, and then realizing, well, yes, I'm born in Germany. Well, I have a Middle Eastern influence. We had Muslims in our family, and we have half of the family is Jewish. We all the same. We're all human beings, but
and
it
that's a
does.
really good point. That's a really good jumping off point. We are all human beings, and the way in which we act towards one another is really the starting point when we're in that fire, change is happening, and we have to lead ourselves at a minimum. So how do we do that? Let's start with leading ourselves. We treat each other with kindness
Mm.
and with understanding
Yeah.
and lead with our hearts, not necessarily our heads. But that's not to say we forget reason. We don't forget reason. No, we have a conversation, but we don't forget we have hearts as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
easy to be mind identified and go, well, here's the logics of the situation. Da 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 da. Here's the evidence. Bang. It's really very simple. Just do that. And of course, that doesn't work because you're talking to humans.
and we don't have all the evidence. And if we are
And we
going
don't
back,
have all the evidence. That's
if we
right.
go back in history, we end up with Adam and Eve. It's like, oh, then this, it's so entangled. And
Yes.
and it's so entangled, and we need to connect to we are all human beings. Um, and
Mm.
um, eh, and we need to unite against this warmongering. That's what we need to unite for.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and again, I'm going to relate it back to the top of it because the opportunities, and it doesn't look, I've seen people warmonger in an office, like there's us and them. As soon as there's us and them, we're at war, right? And then we all start making up
yeah,
facts and stories to justify our positions. Whereas if we accept that we are actually all on the same team, that's team humanity in the big picture. It doesn't matter whether we're black or white, Muslim, Jewish. Doesn't matter if we're in sales and production, which is always a nice place that there's always friction in there. Um, that doesn't it doesn't matter whether it's international relationships or tea room relationships.
and
How you
actually,
act towards other humans is how you act towards other humans, and it should always be with kindness, sincerity, and decency.
and this is also the point. It doesn't just start somewhere abstract in a different country where, with politicians, they decide we need to have a war because of certain reasons. That makes it all very abstract. I'm not saying that is not correct, but we, as human beings, as you said, if we cannot have harmony in an office, how can we have harmony in a bigger world? And I still remember, like, when I was at the start of my professional career here in Australia, where I had my first major job, and we were working for another company, a big Australian company, and there was this us and them, and I was in the part of the company, the company that was providing the service, and it and then I was asked at some point that I go and work with the um, bigger company that we were providing the service and have my
Oh,
desk
the
with,
thems.
over them, and which we did. We had people working having a desk over there. So I was
Mm,
asked, and I was asked to do this, and they said we need someone to connect the teams. And I'm like, you picking me? Anyway, I went over there with all my perceptions, and I had my desk
mhm.
over there with the
Good, good.
client, and I was working with them for 2 months. And I was very apprehensive initially. I didn't really want to do it. And once I was there a couple of weeks into this, maybe even earlier, it's a long time ago, I realized what they have the same problems than we have. They are, and I integrated into their team and I helped them and I sort of connected the teams, which was the idea.
Mm,
Um, and then I realized, oh my God, I realized the perceptions I brought into that project. And then was actually, because I was working on their side, it changed my perception about them. I thought they're really good, they're really cool, they know what they're doing. We just have a different perception of them. And I could bring this back to, my team or our teams in where I was coming from. Um, and this is, I mean, experiencing this full sort of firsthand is a real shock to the system, and you have to be really, humbling yourself, thinking, oh my God, this is what I thought about them, but this is not how they are.
mm, mm, mm,
And it really opened my eyes. I mean, it was a real learning lesson for me, and it
mm.
really opened my eyes to say, okay, this is just the perception I may have of another person or another team, but until I understand them and walk in their shoes, I don't know.
No, that's correct. And this is an act of dehumanizing, where we dehumanize. And this, of course, is led to many an atrocity in the world. And I'm saying that it will go that far, but they will. It can happen.
Yes.
And the first step of that is dehumanizing, because thinking that people don't have the same problems that you do. And when we start using name calling and derogatory terms and say, oh, they are all, absolutism. They're all like, they're all the same. They're all the same, those production people. They don't give a damn about where the stuff comes out the door. I go out there slaving my butt off trying to make these sales, and they deliberately stuff it up. I can't be any other way.
Deliberately.
Yeah.
Deliberately. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they hold the orders up, and they, honest goodness, you think they could get their act together. Is that really going to serve anything? No, they don't do it deliberately. Their job's on the line, just like yours. And yes, it might feel that way, but this is where we talk about having to resolve these issues against yourself. What's really going on for you? What's really going on when you're starting to have a crack at somebody else? 9 times out of 10, the issue's over here. And when you start looking into that, you go, oh, what am I fearful of? Is a good question. What am I reacting to? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling like I'm in fight or flight? What's going on? Why isn't this person on my team?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
sometimes you might need to talk to someone like Jacqueline. She's very, very good at this stuff. I mean, I do it
hold the mirror.
too. Well, the
I
thing, yeah,
hold the
holding the
mirror.
mirror up. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And the more skilled you become at holding the mirror up to yourself, the more able you are to go into situations and lead without necessarily having the tools, because the only tool you really need is knowledge of yourself.
Yeah. And it is. This is where it starts. Um, as in, I mean, I don't really want to go back there, but I've just sort of thinking of. I've been asked, and the whole world has asked, how could have happened the Second World War and the Holocaust under Hitler the way it happened,
Mm,
and it happened in many other countries as well. But let's stick with Germany. I'm German, and I've been asked this, and it's been researched forward and backwards. How can this happen? How could this happen? And the thing
mm,
is, it happened exactly because person by person didn't really see through the sort of delusion of what's happening and bought into this concept and took a little step towards it. It wasn't, oh, that, people just went out there and started killing others. No, a little step of, you know, um, what's it called? Acquiescence, when you align with it and then you take another
mm,
step and then you take another step and you kind of slither into it. And of course, there were probably some other sort of energies or powers at work as well. But this is how it starts. It doesn't start in some abstract big bang. It starts with,
mm,
I'm jealous of the other person. I don't understand the other person, and kind of taking these little steps toward a destructive behavior, dysfunctional behavior, and this is where it starts.
mm,
And this is also one of the aspects. I mean, what people came up with why it started. It's one aspect of it. And
Oh yeah, there was a lot of geopolitical reasons for
and
why
yeah,
it
and there were
started as well.
different that's right. And there were different forces at work and different countries who pushed certain countries and so
Mm.
forth. But and different levels of interaction. But it was also the acquiescence of so many people who did nothing and just went
Yes.
with it. And and that makes up you. And that's also in an office space. You know, you might come into an office space, everyone is friendly and nice and sort of doing their thing, but they're not really collaborating, they're not really working as a team. They might have certain perceptions, you know, bottling up under sort of their under the surface, and it never comes up to the surface. It's never clarified. It's never discussed and
Yeah.
resolved. And then this bottles up, and then the perception of the other, whoever that is, the other team, the other person, the other manager, just becomes sort of um, much, yeah, it just becomes much more entangled.
Mm. Mm. Because you make story on story, and then you get some justification back because there's reaction.
Yeah, and that's right.
And then you can make another story. And it's, you know, we're seeing this in America, so in California. You know, what I'm not going to moralize on who's right and who's wrong, but a party took action. Another party reacted to it. More troops got sent in, and there was more reaction from because,
Of
and
course.
then that justified more troops. And here we go.
Then it escalates.
And then
Yeah.
it escalates, and everybody forgets the beginning reason, what was going on in the first place. And so, like, you know, the phenomenons that we're seeing, they don't come out of nowhere, as you say. They take decades to foment to
Mm.
get to the point where we're facing at the moment. And you didn't come out of nowhere. You are a product of your decades, however many you've got on board, and your experiences and the way in which you've been treated and the way in which you've treated others and what you've got away with and what you've been held accountable for. These are all at play in the new environment because you take you with you if it's a new environment or whatever is going on, which is why my advice, if you're in the situation, say, well, hey, we need to have, there is change in the wind here. And I have to get through this. So whether it's yourself or whether you're actually leading others in that situation, I mean, I'm reminded of at 23, I was thrown into a general manager's job where then all of a sudden I had to close a factory down, make people redundant. You imagine this, some of these people have been working in this building longer than I've been alive, which is just, you know. And then the union refused to act for them because they were being offered piecework. So they, as far as the union was concerned, they've been paying the union dues for 50 odd years. Talk about not ready and not, you know. But the one thing I had was I had my dad. My dad had been a general manager for years and years and years and years and years. And with that, and he was a role model in terms of decency, of how you treat people and how you don't treat people. So that's what I did. You know, I went with decency. And did it all work out? No, not didn't wasn't pretty. But at least I held my dignity together as a human being and know that I did the best I could for all the people concerned. So
Yeah.
that's why I say it's important to start. It starts with you.
And the thing is, people are forgiving if the leader or the person running something is authentic and honest, and they see they're trying the best. People are forgiving for that. And also, I mean, I've heard this a lot, and I've been in situations like where companies were merged into another companies. I know you have been there probably a few times. And what I sometimes hear also amongst my clients is that there's one company that bought another company, and then the other company that was bought is the other team. I'm just sort of representing one view,
Mm.
and they're not part of the integration. And the thing is, the first step is that you have to align all your teams. Now you have a new team on board, which happens a lot, a strange team that you're not familiar with, and they're not familiar with you. First, what you have to do is you have to align the teams, and you have to get everyone along, and you can't leave people out. I've heard that there were integration teams that were called integration teams, but only one side was part of the integration. The other side was completely left out. And only on occasions, if they needed information, like the accountant who happened to be both my client, she was called in because they needed to understand the finances, and then she was sent back again. And that's not integration. So the first thing is getting everyone along, and kind of you have two cultures that then merge together, and you need to create maybe a new culture that is overarching this new situation. So I think step one, when people are faced with this, and I don't have the tool, and what the hell am I doing with this, is whoever is part of your team, you need to sit together, create alignment, understand and listen to their concerns, and work with them, and create a team that is collaborative and really knows each other, and then you can move forward. I think that is one of the most important steps to do. If you have no,
Absolutely. And I'll go back another step behind that, Jacqueline, and that is seeing the humans. You're not dealing with numbers, you're not dealing with positions, you're dealing with humans.
yeah,
They are going to feel threatened by change because that's natural. Humans like familiarity, and we like continuity. So therefore, building the trust in the leaders is super important. Uh, Again, without change management tools, look, there are a whole lot. A mate of mine's got a whole series. You just go to xformist.com and you can get all the change management tools you like. All right, you can even get the training, it's all there. All right. But that doesn't make you a good change manager. It
yeah,
means you know the techniques, and that's good to know,
mm,
but it's about who you are being when you turn up to lead in that situation.
yeah,
And it's a
yeah,
challenge we as all humanity faces right at the moment. Who are we being in the face of these massive changes? Like, look, to be honest with you, the Israeli-Iran war and the Americans pitching in then and the stuff that's going on in the Ukraine, this is nothing compared to the disruption AI is going to cause. Like, it's like, wait, do you see? It's crazy. I never
yeah,
thought I'd see this, but anyway, I love chat. It works for me. Maybe one day it'll be running me. I don't know. But you know,
yeah.
I'm going
That's
to
a
do the
whole
again.
that's a
I'm going to
whole
be the decent human that I can be, Jacqueline, just like you will be. And that's why I urge our listeners to be. Be that, and humanity will triumph because we will gel together.
yeah. And when the foundation is healthy and strong, and this is where the foundation is, then we can also hold together. But I think
Hmm.
we've also neglected the foundation in the last decades.
Oh, yes.
And this is now coming up, and whatever we're seeing in the world in the bigger sort of scale, it's also reflecting back to the individual. It doesn't come from nowhere. It's not something abstract that
Hmm.
just appears or that just politicians are doing. No, we have voted for them, or we have put up with the certain voting systems which may be corrupt. Probably most of them are, and we're putting up with it, and we have outsourced our responsibilities to certain systems, and we need systems because we're a big community, but we have, I think, outsourced too much of our accountability and responsibility to other systems, whether it's
Hmm.
political, educational, and or health wise. We can, for example, we can control what we eat, and kind of remain more healthy than if we just eat junk food all the time. So this is where we have control. We can also speak up in schools and form, communities and kind of, have input. And we can do that. And we have neglected this, I think, as a sort of general global community in many countries. I
Mm.
can mostly speak for the Western countries. And we need to be accountable.
Well, that's right. We certainly, over the last 2 decades, have allowed our children to be separated out and available for propaganda via social media, unpatrolled social media. And it's definitely have a huge impact on who they are. I've had young ones growing up through that, and it's been almost impossible. That's why I kind of applaud the Australian government for saying no, social media should have an age limit on it, and they know full well that kids are going to go and open these accounts, but at least gives the parents some leverage. Whereas in the
Yeah.
last
And
decade, you've had no leverage. You've not been able to say to a kid, look, sorry, no, you're not going on Facebook and you're not going to sit on your computer all day. This is not okay. It's not healthy for you. The government says it's not healthy. At least you've got somewhere else to say other than your parent as a parent. And what do you know? Honest to goodness me, it's
yeah,
it's
don't
it's a
don't get me
hard gig.
started on this. And we also, I mean, we grew into this sort of internet connectedness type of scenario, and we didn't know the impact it has on us, and specifically on kids who are still developing. Their neurological system is not
Mm,
developed, hence that we have so much anxiety. Um, and it's a whole other story, but it is also claiming your power back, and it is very cumbersome. I know when my daughter was growing up, um, I had to put certain limits on it, and I had to put this in place. And of course, they can go outside, play with kids, or be in a different home and have access as well. It's like you can't sort of completely um, sort of protect this, but you can educate your kids to such a degree that they also a little bit understand the dangers, as well as I was educated to understand the dangers. Mom told me, you're not going to go with someone who is giving you a lolly. If that ever happens to you, and I was very little, she said, come to me, I'll give you a lolly, but you're not going to someone who you do not know and they offer you a
mm,
lolly. Like this is
mm,
sort of, and I got this, I thought, okay. And it happened once. And
mm.
I said, and I came back home. So there's a training and an involvement required. So I don't want to go on a different tangent now.
No, but and we go back to it because all these things are change. All these things are, and change is a continuum. It's always happening. It's
That's
not
that's
it's not
right. And
magically change. You wake up now it's happening at such a pace that it's frightening. But
yeah, the pace.
you don't need to be frightened. You just need to know yourself and play your rules. And I am such a big fan of the serenity prayer. And I guess we're getting towards the end of this. Um, and so God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference that sits on my desk all the time because I do the best I can. And if you do the best you can in the office, in your life, in your family, then that'll reflect in the world.
It will. It
So
will.
I invite you to do that and like, share,
Yeah.
and come back next week, please, and let's talk some more.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That is a very good point to finish today. And we see you next week.